Mr. Speaker, we have a crisis at our southern border that has captured the attention of the American people, but has fallen on deaf ears among my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, and much more importantly, the president and the administration at the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue. Just yesterday, I received a text from multiple law enforcement officers along the southern border, whether it's with the Department of Public Safety from Texas, whether it's with Border Patrol. For example, this was a quote, "As of last night, the radios went crazy for West and South Laredo. Waves of folks, literally just group after group, bum rushing the border. The agents were spread thin as hell. In my precinct, we're literally all doubled up because our units are breaking down every other day. Ranchers are calling every other day stating there are folks on their property, but we can't get there fast enough. I hate to say this, but we're getting our rear ends handed to us. I used to have patterns, trends, and knew the drop-off pickup areas, but now it's a expletive free-for-all. Approximately 600 bodies at the Lavarios Gate, just half a mile east from Yarborough, happening right now in El Paso. I've got hundreds of these texts right now flooding into my phone, like every other member of Congress, because what is happening is an abject failure at the border. And it is a humanitarian crisis for Americans and for migrants. 5 million have been encountered at the southern border. 2 million have been released into the United States, incentivizing more to come. Over 1.5 million have evaded apprehension, i.e. gotaways, evading detection from Border Patrol since the beginning of this administration. Fentanyl pouring into our communities. Border Patrol has seized over 35,000 pounds of fentanyl. Just last Thursday morning, I met with 3 fentanyl moms, one of dozens of moms that I've met with because their children have died from fentanyl. 8 children in the school district in the county in which I reside, southwest of Austin, have died of fentanyl poisoning since last August. Over 10 have had to be resuscitated, revived with Narcan. Just last summer, 53 migrants effectively cooked in a tractor trailer in the hot Texas heat in San Antonio, Texas. 856 dead migrants, bodies found along the Rio Grande and in South Texas and on ranches. Little girls sold into the sex trafficking trade, held in stash houses in Laredo and Brownsville and El Paso and San Antonio and Houston and throughout this country. We know this to be true. It is documented to be true. And now the administration can't even keep up with the children that we have, with 85,000, according to the New York Times, not able to be contacted. And then my colleagues just blithely wipe that away, saying, oh, that's not true. It was a phone call. They didn't get them. They must be with a family member. What member of this body would treat their child that way? Oh, I called and didn't get a hold of them. Oh, well. But we do that with 85,000 children? I guess that's not nearly as effective as a photo op in white pantsuits sitting next to kids in cages, alleged, despite those cages were created by the previous administration specifically for the protection of children. But oh no, it doesn't look as good to have a photo op when you've got 85,000 missing children. And tomorrow, Title 42 expires. Now, for the average American, Title 42 is just something, they don't know what that is. What it is a part of our health code that allows us to say that we're going to turn people away in the middle of a pandemic. Yet the administration has been using that as effectively their only means of managing the border, to the extent you can call it managing the border. In March, for example, there were approximately 200,000 apprehensions. We're going to blow right through that right now because we're at 10, 11, 12,000 apprehensions a day. But when you add those 200,000 apprehensions, not even counting all of the parole, half of those were being turned away under Title 42. But when Title 42 expires tomorrow, more will come. There's an explosion at the border. None will be turned away because this administration has specifically chosen to ignore the law. And this administration is refusing to do their job to defend the border of the United States. The least compassionate, the least Christian, the least empathetic thing that a country could do is to allow human beings to be used as political pawns by cartels for profit, while Americans die by the thousands, while migrants get raped and abused and put in stash houses by cartels for profit by the thousands, while migrants die along the southern border by the hundreds, if not the thousands now, while our own people get overrun, their own ranches. I've sat and met with the ranch owners in South Texas who have to run across finding a dead body of a young woman, a mother with a baby on their ranch. Imagine, in the most powerful nation in the history of the world, thinking it's compassionate to have a system that allows that. But yet that is precisely what we do. Unfortunately, what my colleagues' response will be is, oh, we're going to have to do something about our immigration system and future flow and figuring out what we're going to do to make sure that we reform immigration. Don't you know, if we had comprehensive immigration reform, this would all just magically evaporate? Completely not true. The fact of the matter is, the starting point for any sensible border and immigration plan is a secure border in which you actually enforce the laws of the United States. Why? So people know what the rules are. We allow 600,000 to a million and 1.2 million, depending on the year, people to come into this country legally, as we should. Yes, we need to reform our immigration system, but none of it matters if we're going to embrace lawlessness and wide open borders and ignore the rule of law to the detriment of people and to the detriment of the very system that attracts people from around the world. We should be exporting the rule of law rather than importing lawlessness, fentanyl, death, and destruction. And the legislation we have before us would be a giant step towards ensuring that we can hold this administration accountable to make sure that we secure our border, protect our citizens, and protect migrants who seek to come here. And with that, I will reserve.